Hey there, Rednecks, Preppies, Redneck Preppies. It's me, the Redneck Preppy. How you doing today? Great? Good. So we've all seen it. A shooter has just finished sighting in a new scope, and once they start shooting their rifle in earnest, they find that the scope isn't hitting the mark that they sighted at. Groups tend to be okay, but they're a few inches off from where the point of impact should be, and the shooter cannot understand what's going on. Now, sometimes it's the scope or the mount, sometimes it's the shooter, sometimes it's what's known as parallax. Now, most people who shoot with scopes have heard the term, but they might not be completely understanding of what it actually is. Here's their video. Now, simply put, parallax is the phenomenon where the focal plane of the target in a scope is offset from the reticle. Right, okay. So in simpler talk, it's basically that the reticle appears to move depending on what angle you're looking at through your scope with magnification. Here's an experiment you can try at home if you have a scope that's relatively low power. Think something like 2x. Put a piece of tape on the wall and get as far away as you can from it. Now look through the scope and put the reticle on target. Move your head slightly without moving the rifle. You probably see the reticle move off the target even though the rifle itself hasn't moved. That's parallax. So what causes this? Well, think of your scope as an eye. And yes, I know technically what I'm saying isn't accurate, but just go along with me. Although your eye automatically adjusts focus looking at objects at different distances, your scope isn't capable of that. Parallax is caused by your scope being not properly focused, essentially, at the distance that the target is. So as you move your head, perhaps because, the reticle is a bit blurry and you're trying to get a clearer image, the scope's focus is, in essence, changing. Now, the simple solution is to sight your scope and then shoot with your head in the exact same place every single time. Right, that's impossible. So you're going to have to try and eliminate or mitigate parallax. Now, there's a few ways of doing this. The easy one is to just simply buy a scope with either a fixed parallax or an adjustable parallax. Now, it's important to remember that neither type of scope completely eliminates parallax shift. So don't look at them as magic bullets that's going to solve the problem completely. Scopes with fixed parallax are typically, though not always, set for a distance of something like 50 yards for those meant for rimfire rifles, or 100 yards or greater for larger caliber rifles. At the distance the parallax is set for with these types of scopes, you should see optimal results. You'll notice, however, that the parallax shift can be brutal when you're shooting at closer distances than the scope is set for. I use a scope on my .22 long rifle with a parallax adjustment set for 100 yards, and it can be very problematic shooting at 50 yards. Now, at distances greater than the factory setting or at really higher magnifications, small movements of your head are more likely to translate into parallax shift. The other kind of scope you find has an adjustable parallax. You'll usually find the adjustment knob either on the side, and it's referred to as a side focus, or on the objective bell and is referred to as adjustable objective. With these scopes, you can adjust for parallax at different distances. This type of parallax mitigation is obviously pretty useful since you can finely tune the scope for whatever distance you're shooting at. As long as you know what distance you're shooting at, you can just turn the adjustment to that distance. Now, adjustable parallax scopes are usually found in scopes of 10x or greater, but you can also find them on variable power scopes that max out below that. Now, here's a handy tip for you when it comes to adjustable parallax scopes. Aim through the scope of your rifle and adjust the parallax for the distance you think you're at. Now move your head to the right without moving the rifle. If the reticle moves to the left of the target, you need to raise the distance of the adjustment. If the reticle moves to the right of the target as you move your head left, you need to lower the distance adjustment. Now, if you don't have a scope with parallax adjustment, all is not lost. You can actually eliminate a lot of parallax shift from these scopes with a little bit of work, and here's how to do it. First, you'll probably need to be at a range, and I would strongly recommend having a way of securing your rifle, using something like a lead sled or a shooting rest. For this, you really don't want your rifle to move while you're making adjustments. Now, first, set your scope to the lowest possible magnification, something like 2 or 3x is fine, where you can see the reticle clearly, and aim it at a light colored background. Now look away and give the focus wheel a slight turn, somewhere between a third to half a turn. Now look through the scope again for a few seconds, paying attention to the reticle. If the reticle has become sharper, look away again and give the focus wheel another turn of about a third to half in the same direction. If it's sharper, repeat the process again. If at any point the reticle becomes less sharp, turn the focus wheel in the opposite direction in smaller increments, looking away from the reticle each time until it becomes sharper. Lather, rinse, repeat until the reticle is as sharp as it can possibly get. It's important not to look at the reticle as you're turning the focus wheel, because your eye will automatically try and adjust focus at what it's looking at. If you look at the reticle during this process, you're going to end up with a reticle that's out of focus. Next, place a target up that has a small aiming point. With your gun sledded or otherwise as movable as you can get it, aim your rifle at the target. Without touching the rifle, look through the scope and move your head in all directions. If the reticle does not move in relation to the target, you've eliminated the parallax. If there is some, make a small adjustment to the focus wheel and repeat that head move test. Continue to do this until you've eliminated any movement relative to the target. Once you've done so, congratulate yourself. The best way to test, of course, is to actually take some shots at a small target and see for yourself how successful you are. Parallax is a bitch. There's no question about it. I've had a few awful range trips, largely because I failed to set up my scope properly. If you follow my range reports on Facebook, you'll know that for some time I had nightmarish experiences with a particular scope on my .22 long rifle. Believe me, I know how frustrating it can be. However, now that you know how to compensate for the issue, hopefully you'll be able to fix your problems as well. At any rate, I hope you found this video to be at least somewhat entertaining and at least vaguely informative. As always, I hope you have yourself a great day and may you actually hit where you're aiming. Take care and bye-bye.